Castles are freaking awesome and a great setting for stories. They're a symbol of power, authority, wealth, and a military prowess in one chunky stone package. It's no wonder they're such a mainstay of fantasy world building. But so often, people world build castles that don't make strategic sense, or they don't know how to use them in their stories. And yes, I am looking at you, Game of Thrones Season 8. But I'm Janet from World Anvil, and apart from being a professional world building consultant, I'm also a giant history nerd. In this video, I'm going to help you create castles that make strategic sense and have more story possibilities than arrow slits. Step 1. Put it somewhere strategic. The most common mistake I see is a castle randomly slapped on a map, with no reason why it's there or what its purpose is. There are two obvious places to put your castles. The first is on top of a hill. This is easier to defend because running up a hill in full armor is not fun, but also it's a status symbol. After all, you want your subjects looking up to you at all times. And as a bonus, if things do get bad, you can see the other guys coming from a long way away. The other common place is in a militarily strategic location, like a bridge or a crossroads or a river crossing, something that you want to exert control over. Think about the White Tower on the mouth of the River Thames, which controls river trade and secures the city. Or how about Stirling Castle, which guarded the only passable route between a marsh and a mountain on the way to the north of Scotland. He who holds Stirling holds the north, and yes, this was one of the inspirations for Winterfell in Game of Thrones. Castles are, kind of by default, designed to be defensible. What that means practically depends on the technology of your world setting, but there are a few things that you can expect. The first is walls, and walls within walls, and walls within walls within, well, you get the picture. Many of these walls would have had drops or moats between them, making it hard to get from one to the other without a drawbridge. Moats also make it harder to use battling rams or tunnel underneath the walls. Of course, there were gates for friendly forces to get through, but these were even more heavily guarded, often with a portcullis and what's known as a kill box, a strategic area designed to be very dangerous if you're wearing the wrong team's colours. And after all that, there are battlements, crenellations, arrow slits, machicolations, which are basically holes to chuck things through, and more. This, by the way, is just a very brief summary of castle defences, which are super interesting and diverse in different periods. So if you'd like me to do a video going into more detail about castle defences, let me know in the comments. Defensible also means, probably, that your castle can survive a siege. So remember to include a source of fresh water and some large food storage. Of course, you'll also need to have places for your soldiers to sleep and eat, so they're in tip-top condition to guard your castle. And you'll need to keep their equipment in good condition too, so a weaponsmith or an armorsmith would be helpful. So how many guards should you have? A standard early modern castle had a garrison of about 10 to 20 men, but your castle might be different. Castles are designed to exude power from everywhere. Sure, that means big high walls and lots of flags, but it also means magnificence. And often an emphasis on history, as a showcase of your owner's long-established power and stability. But with all those defensive considerations, space inside a castle is at a premium. The big balancing act is how to make things impressive, but still fit inside your defensive structure. After all, the bigger the castle is, the harder it can be to defend. You probably don't want to skimp on the throne room though. That's the ultimate seat of power within the castle. You may have this double as a banquet hall. In that case, don't forget the minstrel galleries for your musicians. You could add a reception room for more private meetings. And chances are, whatever the aesthetic, there are constant reminders of who's in charge. Family trees, emblems, crests and mottos everywhere. From the tapestries to the napkins to the floor tiles are a common motif in castles from all eras. And just for fun, why not include some dungeons? These were traditionally either high up in the towers or down in the basement. Either way, they should be rather unpleasant, and your ruler may include them on the tour, just in case your visitors get any ideas. While it's true that castles were primarily military buildings, people did live there, and there are things you'll need to include for that to make sense. Your castle owner probably has a suite of rooms, and their family might also have rooms there. There are probably some guest bedrooms. And of course, you'll you'll need kitchens and some sort of washing facilities. At least I hope so. And don't forget mounts or vehicles. You'll need stables or garages, preferably inside the castle walls. It wasn't uncommon to have small functional gardens for useful plants, like herbs, vegetables, and medicines. Generally, these were of limited size as they took up valuable space. And don't forget to create the mood of your castle. Do you want bright blue and white unicorn tapestries, with vases of fresh flowers set in alcoves of honey-coloured sandstone? Or is your castle more about drafts whistling through grey basalt corridors, dark corners, and musty rooms of threadbare black velvet emblazoned with a monstrous gorgon head? The aesthetics you choose will change the feel of your castle a lot. So take some time to think about the colours and textures, not only of your soft furnishings, but the stone the castle is made of, the lighting, the humidity, and other sensory details. How does this vary in, for example, the servants' quarters compared to the king's? And how does the location of your castle, that you chose in point 1, add to the aesthetic? Is it squatting by a polluted river, or rising high above green, fertile hills? And of course, don't forget the drama. When people think about castles, they think about armies, attacks, and sieges. These are really fun to add to your story, and they're a mainstay of fantasy fiction for a reason. But castles are also really great as the seat of internal and interpersonal drama. If you're telling political stories, you have the upstairs versus downstairs, as well as foreign diplomats and guest courtiers. Things overheard, letters diverted, messages misinterpreted, and all those stories come together in a limited space. Inhabitants might be forced by power dynamics to be nice to those they dislike, at least on the face of it, but spies and intrigue, romance, politics, and character assassination, or real assassination, might all unfold in this limited space. And remember, the traditionally invisible people in a castle, the servants, falconers, cooks, grooms, and cleaners, see and hear everything, and they'll add a lot to your story. They might even be your main characters. There's a lot of leeway for great storytelling in a properly world-built castle, and a lot of interesting corridors and corners to explore. Castles make such a fabulous set piece for your world building that it's worth getting them right. They'll loom large over both your characters and your audience's memories. If you enjoyed this video, then be on the lookout for our World Building Palaces video, because palaces are really cool and also very different to castles. And if you're looking for more world building inspiration, go check out the building template on World Anvil, where you can expand your castles to include interactive maps, develop the important rooms in detail, and answer prompts like the ones I've been sharing with you throughout this video to make them even richer and more interesting. Now, grab your hammer and go world build.